Okay, people, I'm back again. Is it recording? Yes. Yes, I think it's recording. I cover up the thing that shows me the time so I don't get distracted. Okay. I'm arranging my notes. Things I should have done earlier. Okay. I think I got it. This week is going to be The Lost World. Look at that cover. The Lost World by Michael Crichton. I never know if I'm saying it right. In my head, I always say Crichton. I don't know why. I'll make up words in my head, though. Look at the back. Now, let's be honest. Like, if you've never even seen Jurassic Park, right? You know nothing about. You don't watch any movies. You get this on the cover alone. Do you need more than this to buy a book, people? No, you don't. You can still get this full price nowadays. I'm pretty sure, though, if you put a little effort in, you can get it off eBay or at a secondhand store for like $2 or $3 probably. The thing about his books is he's a highly popular writer. And so like Jack, tons of them sold. And then they just end up in secondhand stores. I mean, people don't typically collect books. We're a special breed, us readers. So if you don't want to spend a lot, I think you can get this for fairly cheap. Same with Tom Clancy books. At least where I am, you can always find like 56 of them. But then they're good, so you're like, it doesn't belong here, I'm going to take it. Okay, so let's get into the book. I'm going to start with my rating. I'm going to not forget about the rating. To me, this is a 5 out of 5 book. I think irrespective of your genre, right? I don't want to. I'm into whatever, biographies or young adult novels. You can take a break, read this book, and it'll be completely fine. On the surface, you would think it's too simple to sort of satisfy a heavy reader like us, but they tackle in a smart way bigger issues that make it fun. But it doesn't drone in any way, and it's not complicated, so it's perfect for non-readers as well, people who do not read lots of books or at all. I bet they'd sit down and enjoy this one. Good for everyone, top to bottom, up and down, every which way you look. 5 out of 5. Okay, I did say it's based off the movies. I think it's now. It's not a novelization, right? I don't think any of his are novelizations. He writes a book, and then a director will get it and say, "I think I can make this a movie," and then it becomes a successful movie, right? That's what he does. So I don't think the first one was a novelization, and this one's not a novelization. It is just a book. But if you've seen the movies, I mean, how does this pair? One, if you've seen it, you'll know some of the characters already. It picks up sort of where the last movie left off ish. If you haven't, if you know nothing about the movies, if you know nothing about the first book even, he picks up and carries you fast enough that it is not a problem whatsoever. You can read this one as a standalone. I bet you could read them out of order. Any which way you want to do it. It's a tremendous book. All right. We start with our Dr. Malcolm. Right? I think he was the Jeff Goldblum character in the movie. And immediately, like page 1 of the story, because I skipped the prologue, or the intro. Whatever that little thing. If it doesn't say chapter 1, your boy skips it. I'm weird like that. We start with Dr. Malcolm, and he's giving a lecture on his, he calls it, the life at the edge of chaos theory. And this is something that carries throughout the entirety of the book, and it's why I say it works for I say high level readers as well. Because what our author does is he finds ingenious ways to not only introduce, but then discuss dense ideas, right? Like things that would just be in like a science paper, right? He pulls the science paper, digests what it has to say, and then feeds it back to the audience in a reasonable manner, right? You don't have to know physics to follow along or all these other things. That's the genius of them, because here in the middle of a story, I think I'm going to get dinosaurs, and I'm getting this sort of heady theory. The theory being, what is it? It's the evolution of life needs a certain amount of things attacking it, right? So that, like your immune system, a baby will eat a lot of things it shouldn't and get a strong immune system that lasts throughout its life. So if the baby doesn't go outside and it's always clean and you never let any germs get around it, that might be a problem for the baby. That's actual science, I believe. What did one doctor say? You're supposed to crawl around on your hands and knees and sort of eat some dirt. You know, you're gonna eat bugs. You're gonna eat dirt. It's not gonna kill you. So that's his theory: is that if there's not enough attacking a system, be animals, plant life, whatever it is, then it won't become hardy enough. But if it's too much attacking, then it'll just devolve and die. Because he's trying to describe, systems of extinction. And I just like that he does this in his books. And it's not alone. He does it multiple times. I think I'll cover a few other points he does as I go along. We then introduce. This is another thing he does. And getting ahead of myself. It's him and Sarah Harding. They're gonna go eat. A lady scientist, and a Levine shows up, and is like haranguing him, asking about dinosaurs, which he's trying to be quiet about. He's trying to like forget he was ever dealing with dinosaurs in his life, because I think that's why he hurt his leg. Old dynamite almost killed him. But even in this, right, it's a conversation. He's trying to get Malcolm interested in his what he calls lost world theory. That is, somewhere on Earth, there's some place so remote that evolution and history didn't touch it, right? So you could have an island somewhere in the Pacific, probably, because that's big, where a bunch of dinosaurs still live in an entirely contained ecosystem because it was too remote and nothing, the extinction level thing didn't reach out there, right? That's the theory. And so it's like, that's a real world theory, and then we're using that as the backbone of a not real conversation between our characters, right? And so it's a fun thing to chew on. It lends realism to our story, and it moves us along, right? Because here's Dr. Malcolm's not trying to hear it, but the guy wants him to lead an expedition somewhere in Costa Rica. But he's like, look, if you find more dinosaurs, I'll go. Otherwise, I don't want to go. And he has that kind of an attitude about him. I like how people have attitudes in this. They're not just like droning, mindless scientists. They have these personality traits, these quirks, that are weird in other situations, but in their chosen field, they're a positive. So then he says 8 months go by, right? Just in a sentence. 18 months goes by. Sarah Hardy went off to Africa, and there's some slight contact between them. But then he's also getting some contact between him and Levine in his trip to Costa Rica. But I like that 18 months go by. A lot of books forget about this, right? Sometimes things take time to develop. That's real life. But if your book doesn't have it, it sticks in the back of a reader's mind that are like, well, just yesterday we were at the university, and now I'm in Costa Rica. And it starts to not, what is it? Everything attacks that verisimilitude, that thing that lets us, forget about reality, and inject ourselves into the make believe world we're reading. So anything that attacks that is a detriment, and anything that adds to that is a benefit. And saying 18 months goes by just sticks in the back of my head, and I feel in life in my mind, and it feels right when I continue on the story. He does this as well. Let me see if he does it this early. I think he does it around this early. See if I can find one. He has various. What is it? He has what he calls them. It's not like they're a kind of a break in the story. Third configuration. You see that? It's sort of like a break where you're going new. You know, where other books say book 1, book 2, book 3. It's kind of like that, but not. And then it gives us this funky little graphic, which I'm taking to be because they change. See the fifth configuration? He never explains it. He just shows it to you, right? Think that's showing up good? I think this is some sort of like graphical representation of these theories where the problem gets more and more complex as whatever the ecological system, as things start to impact it. You see this fracturing and then this counter reaction. I think that's what we're getting here. Just visually. But the visual on it kind of affects you when you're reading the book. You might lose that in an audiobook, but in the real book, because you're seeing this thing as you go on get more complex, and then I guess you carry that. Sort of what I did. I carried that into the story expecting or feeling like a foreboding that it's going to get more complex, that the issues are going to get harder to deal with. I thought it was a neat little trick he did. Just a little visual trick. Because that's what reading is. These are, what is it? Words. They're just little pictures, people, right? The A is not anything real. It's a picture we just invented that means A. H-I-M means him, but it's a little picture, right? And so that's what we're doing is we're seeing a bunch of little pictures. And he sort of plays on that. What is it? Seventh configuration is sort of stabilizing, right? Maybe? I thought it was very cool. I thought it was very fun. Where was I? Oh, right. Another part of his storytelling, how he does it for this book. We'll jump from character to character and use their point of views, right? So we don't have an overarching narrator that knows everything. Each character becomes their overarching character, right? So when we cut to Levine, he doesn't know what Dr. Malcolm's doing. He doesn't know what Sarah Harding's doing. He has no concept other than what a person would have of these outside forces. Now, it could be easy to lose track of, right, where you are in the story. It could also be easy to oversell it, right? So if you go too deep into Levine, I'm more interested in that, and when I get off of him, I'm distracted as a reader. He doesn't do this. He's fast enough in the switches that you stay present, right? So when Levine's in the jungle, you're in the jungle with him. And because it's first person, you feel what he feels. You know there's dinosaurs, but he doesn't. So you get wrapped up in the mystery with him. And you can taste a mystery style story. Then when you get out of it, you're back with Malcolm and you're in his worried about Levine story, right? So you get tastes of different styles of, mystery, action, suspense. You can get these different ones without interfering with the other ones. Also, what was I going to say? Right, you feel it with him, and it makes you care about each character more. And because it comes so fast, you'll instead of daydreaming about other concepts in the story, You just invest in what you're dealing with because you know he's going to give you another one in a minute and an answer to that first one right after that. So you know as a reader that the answers are coming and that more good questions are coming. So there's no need for you to wander sort of off the reservation. He controls the reader's mind a little bit, which is what you should be doing. But he does it very, very well. I love it. Each character, right? So when we go to Sarah out in the Serengeti or whatever, looking at hyenas eating something, we're right there with her. It's dark. It's hyenas and lions around and they're eating something, right? Really good at moving you along. So Levine, after these 18 months, Levine heads out to Costa Rica and he's been out there a while looking around. He gets a call about some kind of mysterious animal and flies out to it. Now it's huge and he obviously knows it's not just a normal lizard. He takes a sample of it before the authorities come and burn the body, right? And like I said with these different story elements, his story for the first bit of it is this, it's like a corporate something shady going on mystery kind of situation. Because when a government sends people to burn a carcass rather than study it scientifically, you get suspicious, right? Well, so does Levine. He thinks something's up. He overhears conversations where they're like, make sure he gets on that plane and leaves, right? So you have this intensity about it, right? Our problems, this government, this shady government, what the crap's happened and what's the extent of it, right? And so instead of leaving, your boy Levine bugs out and gets lost in these jungles looking for this lost world. Cut to modern world, and we get introduced to Arb and Kelly. These are two kids, right? But they're brainiac kids. They're those kids that end up in the like advanced learnings classes, right? So they're, I think one's 14 and one's like 12 or something. They're very young, taking college courses, right? They're these smart kids. He fills us in on their socialness, right? That they're awkward around people. One of them has money issues. All this cross things that come into play in your mind. He fills us in real quick. We go with it. And they're worried about Dr. Thorne. And so they take a package to Levine. So they take a package to another doctor, a Dr. Thorne and his boy, his helper Eddie, who are building this big contraption, a twin trailer, a car, and a motorcycle, all sort of electrically powered. He wants to do some kind of expedition. He needs it very sturdy. So he asks for all these things, and they're building it for him. At this point, I already know what's going to happen, right? Any reader would know what's going to happen. You know those kids are going to sneak on that trailer and end up with these dinosaurs. Now, I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, that would annoy me. Kids in general in a story are kind of useless. They always just end up being, a danger point, right? The kid's in danger. I have to do this. I don't like that basic a storyline. And then I don't like a sneak on board storyline either. And somehow, it doesn't annoy me. It doesn't annoy me even knowing it happens. Because again, he keeps me so present that for a while I forget that I know that it's going to happen and pretend that it's not. Right? So that when it does, the way it does, because it doesn't upset any of the characters' baselines, right? So you're not going to go from scientist to, crazy killer or something like this, right? None of their character traits are broken by what these kids do. And so in my mind, I accept it and move on. It's very tricky to do. To take a trope like that and not make me annoyed at it. We get an introduction to raptors, which again, it's an example of what he does throughout this whole book. It's just Dr. Malcolm telling some kind of art department for some kind of exhibit how to present raptors. He wants them more vicious, claws, that they're smart, right? But what it's doing is, and he does this a lot throughout the book, he finds a casual way to introduce a concept to you as a reader, knowing that you can carry that concept in your mind so that when it's introduced in action, I don't have to stop the action to give an explanation, right? I already gave it to you 9 chapters ago. He does this very well on almost every subject, be it the layout of the island, the problems, the solutions, right? It's all sort of there, and so it doesn't nothing interferes with the action. It's actually really smart. We get introduced to an Ed James. Again, another thing I like about it, the way he does a story. I think I read one of his other books. The way he does a story. Ed James is a private investigator hired by a man named Dodgson. All right, I messed up. He intros Dodgson earlier. Dodgson? He's your full-on epitome of everything wrong with big pharma corporate world, right? He's a scientist, but he's stopped trying to be a scientist and just will steal whatever he can take, make it his, and get rich off of it. That's his whole deal. Realistic, right? There's some people out there like this. So when he introduces our Ed James as a private investigator who works for Dodgson, trying to find out anything about Levine, anything about this island. He knows about the company that was trying to make him, and he wants the tech for himself. He's been after it for years. And he's he's a douchebag to people, right? But what's interesting about Ed James is this is the only time you're going to hear about him. Period. We have one chapter where he's introduced a named character who then doesn't appear again. Now, I say named character, right? It's one of the rules of reading, right? If you name a character Ted, that could come or go. If you give a character a last name, that carries more weight. So as a reader, I latch onto that more. So that you could give me something I latch onto and then not pick it up is unsettling as a reader, right? It means he's not following all the rules. Anything could happen. And you need that sentiment if you're putting characters in danger. I have to kind of believe they'll die, even though I know they're not. Does that make sense? So this is one. Also, you meet people like this in real life, where I'm going to talk to you for a day and then maybe not talk to you again. That's real life. So it's adding realism, and it's adding uncertainty into the reader's brain, all while moving the story along. That's all Ed James is there for. It's very smart. We get to the Dino Island. We know it's coming. Isla Sorna. That's the name of it. I like all these Costa Rican names. We do a few things at the island, which I like, which are smart. And he does a sense of isolation. And he has more than one character sort of say this, where something happens, they look out to the horizon, they see a type of a plant, something triggers in their mind the fact that they are 1,000 miles from help, right? That they're on a remote island, that no one can come and help them until a scheduled time, and that that's it. They're completely, what they brought is what they have. I like that sense of, when you have that sense, you'll act differently. If I could just leave the museum, go, across the street to the Waffle House and eat waffles, I would just avoid the danger. But that he plants these seeds of isolation in your mind, and justifies the decisions characters are making. They're in a dangerous situation that they didn't have to be in. So rather than call them stupid, you get a sense of why they're there and their feelings about it so that they don't seem stupid. That's the problem I have with a lot of horror type books. I'm like, just leave the house, bro. Is Dracula. I'm like, yeah, just stay out during the day. He won't get you. Don't go over there. I do this kind of thing. Cannot help myself. We get to the island. By this time, we've, in our mind, chosen to forget the kids are in the trailer. So it's just a search for Levine. Now, when we last leave Levine, he's attacked by a dinosaur. And the way it writes it, Levine thinks he's dead. So we think he's dead, right? So we think that they're on a hopeless journey that's leading them more into danger. And we kind of don't want that for Malcolm and his friends, right? Because we like them. I don't want you to go into Dino Land and get eaten. But they're going deeper in because something's tracking. They're tracking a thing. And again, that sense of a story, of a mystery, right? We're leading ourselves into more danger. We get all the benefits of a story like that because of the way he writes. They find Levine, and rather than being let down that there's no payoff for the mystery, the break's so quick that we just are carried on to the new issue, you know, of what to do now. They all want to leave. Levine's like, I'm not leaving. Thanks for bringing my equipment. I'm going to study these animals. And that's what he does. Sorry about that. I'm coughing for some reason. I need water. Just like in real life, you could be worried about someone you know. Like, they've been out too late. I'm worried. I'm genuinely worried. Should I call the police? Knock on the door, they come in. The worry then goes, and they're telling you, oh, bro, there was this huge, giraffe in the street, and there was a massive traffic. And you're like, oh my, what is this mess? Now I'm interested in this news story. And the worry can just evaporate, right? This is what happens in this story. You go from worried about this character to happy he's alive to then just in the new, we're going to stay here a while. Which is kind of what you wanted as a reader anyway. Because, I'm like, when I see the cover, I want some dinosaur action. Don't fail me now. He doesn't fail you. They find him, and then they hear on the radio that the kids are like, hide, it's coming, right? So for a second, they're like, the crap are the kids doing here? The kids got access to some cameras. They know a T-Rex is coming. T-Rex comes, and then you're instantly back to forget why the kids are here. Let's not get eaten by this dinosaur. It leaves because it doesn't sense them as a danger. It marks its territory and then just leaves. But you carry that with you, right? That at any point, danger could just come out, and it adds stakes, even if they're just walking around. Kind of like the movie Jaws, where you don't always have to see the shark, but every time you're afraid of the water. This is what it does. So, we understand now that the kids are here. We understand Levine doesn't want to leave. And we also understand that the helicopter's not coming until the next day, 2 o'clock, or whatever the number is, whatever the time is. So they're like, what do we do now? Obviously, they don't want the kids there, but they're there. And this is what I like. This is why I said it didn't break character. If you had a parent in the situation, we're going to drive over to the landing spot, and we're going to sit there until the helicopter comes, and then we're just going to leave. There are children here. I'm not risking it. But you don't have parent types of people. You have scientifically minded people and fairly intelligent ones, right? They're not socially normal people. It's why they do what they do. They're sort of on the fringes, right? So if you put them in a dinner party, they might be awkward. But they are not in a dinner party. They're more in their element. One of them trusts his engineering. One of them trusts the science. And they're all very curious. The kids is included because they're scientifically minded. So they all sort of quickly agree. We can't leave. We're safe in the trailer. It's made of reinforced steel and whatnot. Why don't we have a look around? Like, yeah, what could go bad? Right? Now, all normal people are like, bro, there's dinosaurs. Get out. But they're not normal people. They would trust in their equipment, which they do. Everyone acts accordingly. And now I have this element in amongst the other elements. It's very, very well written book. Because normally, like I said, they shoehorn children into a story that makes no sense really, and then I'm just annoyed the rest of the time. This doesn't annoy me. So now we have the kids on the island, and then we do a fun thing. Because it's a dinosaur book. Show me dinosaurs, and that's what he does. I forget all the names. We'll bring up the one with the long neck. And we're going into deep scientific, because the kids are asking. It's our excuse to talk about these things. We're going into these deep conversations about bone structure, gravity, why do they have long necks, how are they eating these plants, how does the heart pump it up, how they cohabitate. These characters are excited about seeing these dinosaurs and testing their theories out all very quickly. They just get all excited, and you get excited for them. And you do what they do. You just pretend there aren't dinosaurs with teeth on the island. You just enjoy yourself. And they're driving around exploring. They set up some kind of a stand. I didn't get a great in my mind what's happening here. Suffice to say, they're above ground now. They want to set up cameras all through the island. Then they want to leave and just study the film, because they have real dinosaurs doing real things, and who knows what they'll learn. So they sit up in this kind of a tree stand by itself, and with binoculars they're just looking at different parts of the island and going, look, they go in herds, or look, these little ones have better eyesight. So they pair up with the bigger ones who are stronger and help each other out, because the big ones don't have good eyesight. It's genius, right? So you're just flowing along with them. And it's just the wonder of dinosaurs is part of the unwritten sort of contract you make when you pick up this book. I want dinosaurs. I'll give you dinosaurs. I'm like, and you're having fun. And it's real peaceful. It goes peaceful, then it goes bad. Like you knew it would. And it's throughout. I say it like in this spot. But know that it's going to be throughout the book. That's why I say this is the subject matter, not the writing itself. He doesn't write particularly difficult, what would I say, scrumptious language. Language readers like to read. He doesn't write deep, but what the ideas will be deep. Ideas about extinction, right? And we'll break it down, and it'll be like, so you believe that God made these? I'm like, no, that's creationism, and to this character that doesn't make sense. And he'll have a solid discussion about why that makes sense, but then he'll argue against his own theory, which if, like, let's say you're highly religious and you think another way about creation, it'd be points you would make in real life as to why that doesn't work. It's too complex, it's this, it's that. And so we get this deep conversation about a subject that people think about. Right in the middle of our book, right in the middle of our wonder on all these dinosaurs. Very fun. Again, even for readers like us. We want something, you need something to sink your teeth into, so to speak. And that's what, look for that in this. Look for these heavy subjects. Not in the actual writing itself. We then get our Sarah Harding. We were introduced to her. She wants to come to the island. They send a message. She's like, I'll make my way over there. She comes with, a plane or two, and now you're in Costa Rica. But she didn't have a way across because the weather's bad. So she hops a ride with Dodgson, who lies and pretends to be Malcolm's friend. On the turbulent seas, he chucks her overboard, trying to kill her. And to me, this is a little odd, right? It's what's funny is the stretch for me wasn't that the dinosaurs are real. They explain it by you take dino DNA and you mix it with frogs. You grow them in a lab. I'm like, seems realistic. There's a lab. Yeah, it can get done. To me, what was the stretch was this character trying to kill this other character, which sort of tells you something about his writing. Because people murdering each other shouldn't be a stretch. Dinosaurs existing should be, but on his story, you have an author has the right to pull a little on that verisimilitude. I want to get somewhere, and it's going to be difficult for me to get there. So let me pull on it just a little. Let me lean on it. He leans on my verisimilitude. Personally, I don't think maybe the character would have tried to kill her. He might have just left her on the island. But I can see the through line where he doesn't want anyone knowing about this island so that he can reap the maximum benefit. People will kill you for money, right? So in my mind, it never says it. That's what I'm going to lean on. I'm going to say he did it for money. He didn't want anyone else knowing. But to me, it was a bit of a stretch. And the stretch is made apparent later on. We get a great description of her being in the water, in some turbulent water. It's a storm, and you're out at sea. So even like having to take her boots off because they're too heavy, they're heavy leather boots, is this action element. He does action very, very well. I don't know if she's going to live or die. I am worried she's going to crash on the rocks. She does survive. Action's very good. But now we have this, again, like our little pictures are showing. These variables keep getting added to our equation. And who knows what will happen. So now we have her on the island and Dodgson and his crew on the island. What he wants to do, he just wants to steal eggs, get them back, and grow them and make money off of them, right? That's it. In his mind, that's what he's going to do. And he has this big sound gun. He scares them away from the eggs, he steals an egg, and he goes on to the next one. It gets our crew to sort of chase him. He goes to a T-Rex nest. Like, why? His greed knows no bounds. His sonic gun's kind of working till the battery drops out of it. One of the guys steals an egg. One of the guys gets eaten right then, and the other guy dodges and YOLOs out, and then it's just chaos. He drives off with the egg. That guy gets eaten as well, right? But what we have is just everything upended. Our other characters are trying to find him to stop him because they want to keep their experiment going. They get to the T-Rex nest and find a hurt T-Rex, a baby one. And they're like, kill it, it's dead. They're scientists. They understand a wounded animal with a broken leg is not going to grow right. The guy's not a scientist. He just feels bad about a baby dinosaur. So he takes it. They fix the leg, but that draws like the T-Rex to the site, right? So Levine is pretty aware this might happen, so he takes the kids up to the stand. Again, we get some complex action, but the fun part, it's fun and action at the same time because we're having a discussion as to how the T-Rex raises its young. And you're like, how would it know that the baby's here? And the Dr. Harding's like, we don't know all its sensors, right? It might have, octopus see an X-ray, infrared, echolocation in a dolphin. We don't know what's all involved in that dinosaur. It could track this baby dinosaur who knows how long. We get this kind of thing happening in the midst of the action. They save the baby. They fix its leg, save the baby. The dinos take it away, and they think they're fine. But then the dinosaurs are like, well, I'm going to come F up this thing that took my baby, which is the trailer. So it's like the two dinosaurs are demolishing the trailer, trying to knock it off the edge of a cliff. One of the guys is driving over to help and breaks one of the cars, ends up in a Jeep. Again, we get this convoluted action kind of sequence that makes sense. The raptors show up and start attacking the dino stand, which you thought was safe, but it's not safe because raptors are too smart. Our boy Eddie dies. I feel real bad about this. Now, the characters would feel worse if they had time to think about feeling bad. He's like attacking them with, they're trying to climb up and eat him. So he's hitting them with a pipe. It grabs the pipe and sort of yeets him off the edge. And then, like 9 raptors descend on him and just chew him apart. And you're like, rip Eddie. He did not deserve this. Sucks to be Eddie. When the action picks up, it doesn't let up. From there to basically the end of the book. Eddie dies horribly. Like I said, 2 of the guys came with Dodgson. They die horribly. Dodgson is half attacked by little critters, but lives, so he's all wounded. But he's still alive because you can't kill a cockroach, right? We get to a point. We get to a point where, again, another issue I may have, which is I think the reason we had him try and kill Sarah Hardy. She ends up under a car, and the T-Rex is there, sniffing around, right? Where, like, it's going to sniff her out, move the car, and eat her. Well, I think she thinks the same thing because it's her and Dodgson hiding under the car. She props herself on the tire and starts, like, shoving him out from under the car so that the T-Rex gets him and leaves. And I'm like, you kind of murdered this guy. I know he's a bad guy. I know he tried to kill you, but... And then you're like, is it wrong to try and murder him? And I'm like, I think our author wanted a reason for a guy to get eaten by dinosaur babies, because that's what ends up happening. He goes down pretty brutally. It's not pleasant to think about. And then I'm like, that's the only thing that leaves a half sour taste in your mouth. Because as bad as he was, I don't think he ever did anything to to warrant the end that he got. Yeah, he's a bad guy, but I guess they sort of see it as like, it's nature. What are you going to do? Right? He goes down horribly. He gets eaten alive. It's not pleasant. But Sarah Harding lives, so you're like, I guess it all worked out. You play it off like it's the, what is it? It's the circle of life. What are you going to do? It's nature. Kind of rough. But we have, by the end, the raptors are a problem. Half kill everybody. Then we get a different type of danger, which is fun, just to add right in the middle. They're like salamanders. Chameleons. What's the word? Yeah, chameleons. Why do I keep thinking Charmander? That's a Pokemon. The ones that change their colors, right? I'll put a picture up. Well, imagine that's a dinosaur with teeth. That's what comes to almost kill them. They're just hiding, and you're like, bro, how do you live through this? They were so scary that the raptors didn't want to come in, right? So we have that. We have the raptors, and we have the T-Rex. Any one of these dangers is just constantly trying to kill them. Right up to the very end, where they end up in a boat, and they're just beelining it back to Costa Rica. They've been saved. And the book ends just like that, right? They're on the boat and everyone's happy. And that's it. We're done. Next page, he's thanking scientists, the author, for some of the theories that he used in his book. Which is another thing I like. All the theories feel real because they all are real. So you're surrounding this big idea that's fake with so much real. Oops. And that's how it ends. Dodgson dies horrendously. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, it's a dinosaur book. I kind of wanted somebody, it's like a monster truck rally. I want to see a big monster truck land on a car and squish it. I kind of wanted to see someone eaten alive by a dinosaur. I guess, because I'm extremely happy at the end of this book. I mean, look at the teeth, people. The teeth. That's the book. 100% recommended to anyone. Ad time? Yeah, these are my books. Go buy them. You can buy them on Kindle. Michael Crichton is a great author. You see one of his books, you probably get it. You'll probably be happy with your purchase. I want to thank everyone for watching these videos. They're fun to make. That's long enough for the ads, right? You've waited long enough. No end credit scene today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week.